Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 230, and today we're going to be doing Battle in the Foundations Gauntlet. And so, this is going to be our last Foundations Gauntlet number 4, and I wanted to bring a little bit more of a cohesive strategy to this one. Across the past 3 videos, we have managed to hit the prime glory, but I don't feel like we brought an actual cohesive strategy as much as we were kind of just figuring out the new format. And so with this one, the idea that I have here is across the past few, the thing that I've really kind of like noticed and gotten a grasp on is we've kind of tied in on this strategy of just banning Jinx Draven, which I think is fine and strong. It's arguably the best deck in the format, especially with the new upgrades to Jinx in the 3.19 patch. And so it's something that I haven't really just wanted to deal with. And so we've been banning that one, and that tends to leave us up against Shadow Wilds decks. And there's no real two ways around it, right? People tend to either bring like triple Shadow Wilds or triple Control, or even if you're playing the good deck strategy, you're probably bringing something like Jinx Draven, and then Ashe Katarina, and then some other Shadow Wilds deck. And so if you really want to be playing Shadow Wilds, you're probably not getting away from it. And so I think that we really have to keep Shadow Wilds in mind. And the big thing that the Shadow Wilds decks are bringing to you are their removal spells. And so what they do very, very effectively in this format is kill 1 health units. Like every single Shadow Wilds deck in the format's playing Vile Feast, and so you have great ways to take down 1 health units. If you want to expand into more control-y areas, you can add Withering Wail to the mix. The next one is they do have a way to just remove any unit with Vengeance, right? So if you're looking to just go tall, say with a Fiora deck, they're going to have a fantastic answer to her. Last but not least, they're all playing the Ruination, which is a way to just completely kill the board. And so you're really looking at ways to where you have to make these decisions of, do I go wide with all of my units and face the Ruination, or do I try and limit my board to, say, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 units to play around the Ruination, but potentially get smoked by the likes of Vengeance. And so I think the kind of answer to this, at least in the current moment, is just to play the Harrowing. The Harrowing we are tying together here mainly with other Overwhelm units, and that is giving us a pretty kind of cohesive strategy against the Shadow Wilds, right? If they're going to be building up boards of little spiderlings with their Vile Feasts and Brood Awakenings, we can ideally overwhelm through them. We have some pretty resilient units, things like Tryndamere and Hecarim coming down that help us battle against the likes of Vengeance, and then at the end of the day, the Harrowing should be enough to crash through any of these games to where the opponent has played the Ruination. So ideally, our opponent's Ruinations are going to be something that needs to counterspell the Harrowing, and if it's not counterspelling the Harrowing, then ideally that's going to be our strong path to victory. And so the idea that we're going to be doing here today is if Jinx Draven turns up, we're going to ban it. If they're bringing triple Shadow Isles, we're going to ban out the Ionia deck, right? If we're playing the Harrowings, we don't want to run into Deny, and this is what we're going to try and kind of key in on as our general strategy. And so to bring up the deck lists, we are playing actually all Allegiance decks across the board. I think this is kind of neat and interesting as well, but we have the Shadow Isles Allegiance here, really tied in on the Mist Wraiths. This is the only one that can't go like beast mode with all the overwhelms off of a Harrowing, but you should still be able to get quite a bit of power coming through with the Mistwraith package. And so Hecarim, Elise are 2 of arguably the strongest champions in the format right now. Elise gives us a really good early game presence with all of the spiders, and then in terms of our mid game, we can hopefully convert over to the Mistwraith package. If that's not enough to finish off the game, then we do have the Rekindlers as the big value package, and the Harrowing to be the big finisher. And so lots of interesting power here. It unfortunately doesn't have the big Overwhelms package in it because that just doesn't exist in Shadow Isles, but hopefully the big Mistwraith regeneration and all of the stats that provides makes up for it in the sense that we don't have Overwhelms. Deck number 2, we are bringing the not the exact same Freylord Overwhelms that we did in the previous video, but the same idea lives here. We're looking to be more of a kind of mid-rangey style deck, and then after we kind of develop the board a little bit, we're going to be able to switch over to the Overwhelms. The big kind of combos you're looking to pull off with this are going to be the Avarosian Trapper and the Avarosian Outriders. So we have a nice early game collection of stats to put on the board, but then we can really try and take over with a big 8/8 overwhelm for 1 mana. Any of the tempo that we lost in the early game by playing these mid-rangey kind of dudes, hopefully we can make up for with that big combo. But then, again, at the end of the day, we have Tryndamere as a fantastic way to battle the Shadow Isles decks. Having to kill him twice is a real problem for them to deal with. And then we have the Harrowing tied in with all of the Overwhelm units. If you've been kind of familiar with the blue Gwen decks of the recent days, to where you're playing all the Hallowed units along with the Overwhelms, you can get that big Harrowing at the end of the game to help overwhelm through your opponents with a bunch of Overwhelm units. Last but not least, we are moving into the lands of Noxus, if you will. A handful of Overwhelms here is kind of odd to me, to where all of the Overwhelms in Noxus are very expensive. I got very used to playing things like Darius Nar, to where you have that really cheap Freylord Overwhelm package. Doesn't quite exist here, but a lot of the same concepts. We have this really strong early game aggressive package with the 9 1-drops and 9 2-drops. Once that has hopefully done 8 damage or 9 damage or so to the opponent, we can switch over to the Overwhelms plan, try and get these big damage hits in with Basilisk Rider and Darius and Captain Farron and Kato the Arm. And then if that's not enough to close out the game, if that's not enough to bring the end to our opponent, hopefully we can just Harrowing back another big collection of Overwhelms. And so that's it. That's the strategy. That's the decks we're going to be bringing in today. Let's go ahead and head on into battle. So the black whelming deck, the blue whelming deck, the red whelming deck, all ready to do some whelming things. I know Shadow Isles isn't that whelming, but technically Hecarim has it, and so he definitely plays into the theme. All right, here we go. That Hecarim overwhelming. That's what we need. That's all one needs in this format. But let's see. So what do we got here? This is along the lines of one of these triple control deck lineups. I'm not really afraid to play against Fiora, I don't think. I suspect opponents probably just got to bring either Tryndamere or Karma, and we are looking to I think this is probably a space to where this is where it's like tough for me. I want to ban out like the Shadow Isles Ionia deck, but it doesn't exist here. I think we can probably just leave Karma up. I think that she tends to have a lot of problems with just the big stat units, and that's what I think we should be able to bring here with Tryndamere. And so a couple of good things, right? As we look at the Karma deck, the Karma Ezreal deck, it's going to have a lot of damage-based removal. Essentially, all of its removal should be damage-based, so we should have some good answers there. And then otherwise, if we're up against the Fiora deck, we do have this handful of Frostbites. And so if she's trying to come out and get a big set of challenge-based kills on us, we have the Shatter and the Iceveil Archer, which are a little bit slow, but if we can get some damage on her, we have Brittle Steel, and then we also have the Harsh Winds to hopefully slow her down a little bit. Gotta remember, man, the Shatter does 4 damage now. You can totally Shatter kill a Fiora. I think that's kind of bonkers, but, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, so not surprised to see him not play anything. The typical Fiora strategy in days of old was you just wouldn't play anything in the first 3 turns, and then once those 3 turns were gone, you could drop Fiora, or I'm sorry, the first 2 turns, and you could play Fiora on turn 3. But now with the format the way it is, it doesn't quite pan out like that with Fiora costing 4 mana. Wouldn't be surprised to see her come down here. You don't have enough mana. I had in my head that we were going to be able to pull all of this off, but the question is going to be, are we willing to double Shatter Fiora after combat, right? He's going to have a Prismatic Barrier or something here very, very, very frequently, but if we can trade the Outriders for the Barrier and then follow up with double Shatter onto Fiora, it gives us a little bit more strength, I think. Maybe it's just even better now, getting to go for it twice. Yeah, look at the size of this Iceveil Archer. You're so big, my friend. It's so big. But I think we're going to drop our small units now. If he wants to get a big Fiora play in, he's going to need to play a Riposte. I think it needs to be a riposte. This is looking like a bigger combat than I was expecting. But if you... Okay, that's... I can say... I think that's perfect. We're going to pop the barrier now. We're going to lose the unit. That's okay. We can follow up with a fresh Frostbite now. And then we have the double Shatter. No sharp sights in this world. You can't get out of this. I mean, you could play Twin Disciplines. You could play Radiant Strike. There's a few different ways out of it, but oof. Oof, fam. That's good. That's good.
Our allies did not fall in vain.
Now, what do we got? A Scar Maiden Reaver? I mean, we have 11 damage of Overwhelm. We could probably force him to just block all of our units. I just worry about playing the Reaver and then opponent having a... like a Fiora to follow up with here. Purify's good. But if we can get him out of this space to where he's just like sitting around banking mana, I think this gets us in a pretty decent spot. Interesting. I guess the Steel Tempest is a way to protect your Fioras. I haven't really considered that before, but if you're trying to put Fiora on the board and protect her from your opposing challengers or something, I guess it's a thing. Alright, now we're locked and loaded with the Harrowings, so it's kind of a tough spot. Like, the Harrowing's only going to add one dude to the board here. I guess two dudes, but we haven't killed off any of our big Overwhelm units, so it's not bringing back anything particularly exciting. Alright, probably just got a Reaver again now. Okay. GG. Said Dim Reavers is too big. Too much Overwhelm, Zolbust. I gotta remember that, though. Man, I've been, like, so impressed with Shatter in this format. It's a card that's just been such garbage throughout the course of time that I've been really surprised with it only costing 1 mana in this one and being so good. I think that, you know, it may make its way into the Rising Tides. I doubt that it really has a play in the current best of 3 meta. Okay, and so, coming out of these, I think I'm fine to play against, this is the Broodlings deck, right? The Spider Broodlings, or I assume this is some kind of Dead Allies kind of Thresh deck. The one that strikes me as just being the current best deck is the Ash Katarina, and then again, we are looking to come out here and just do battle against... do battle against some of the Shadow Isles decks. So with this, I'm going to bring the Elise Hecarim. I worry about taking our Noxus deck against these. It's just there should be a bunch of just kind of like Spiderling stuff coming at us. It's not something I'm too keen on battling with a bunch of 1 health units. All right, not a bad Mistwraith draw though. Harrowing turning up as well. All right, you just gotta pick up a Black Spear so you have the completely perfect curve. All right, nice little early trade. Alright, so we can't do anything here. Sad day, but getting to follow up with these Wraith Callers. I guess we'll see who's able to go bigger with the Mist Wraiths today. Wasn't quite expecting them to come out of the opposing deck, but that's what we're seeing. I think we can let this one hang out for a bit. Like, we're definitely gonna Vile Feast it. Don't get me wrong, but oh, maybe that was terrible. Just just having the Callista immediately come down afterwards. Maybe it was. I was just kind of thinking, it's like, well, we always have the opportunity to just kill it, and then if we're going to maybe get to counterspell a Glimpse from Beyond or something, that would be agreeable. I guess this works out, though. A little bit of protection here. I mean, coming into this next turn, we're going to have 2 spiders on board that are going to get the bonus from the Skitterer. And then we can shrink Callista to where she can't block a Fearsome. So, might get some good things happening that way. You're going to be a good Skitterer, I feel it. Now the question will be, do we actually attack with our smaller units, right? Because he does have the Callista on board. As it stands, he can't block, and if he can't block, he can't flip the Callista. I think we just want to come in with these, right? We're not going to actually be dealing any damage. So I think that's fine. We can skip here. Got all these Harrowings in hand. I'd like to get to use them a little bit if we could. Is he ever playing the Ruination? Like, we can play around it to a degree. He's playing it. That's okay. We can play a defensive Harrowing next turn and then a follow-up on the turn after. But the question here is, can we get a lethal this round? And we are really close to it. We're going to be bringing back a Mist Wraith with a Mist Call. Oh, it's a random ally though. Okay, we gotta do a little better. I was thinking it was your biggest ally, how that Callista attack works. But I mean, drawing a 1-drop and an Elise right off the bat with that, we should have gotten a lethal with just about anything. But get boomed. GG. The Ruination. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. We're here to counterspell the Ruinations today. All right. Battle number 3 coming up. Now, what is this? We got an Ionia number with Zed Yasuo. I always talk trash about Yasuo, so we'll probably never ban him. I don't know what this middle deck would be. It looks very expensive. I think all of our decks can handle it fine. I don't worry about Teemo. We don't have a ton of great answers. We're not playing the full-on Vile Feast decks, but I just have a hard time worrying about Teemo. I assume this is some kind of Elusives number. There was an Elusives deck we used to draft in Expedition, with Teemos and Amateur Aeronauts and Sumpworks Posses. Not the Posse. Sumpworks Posse is the 4-attack one that AoEs. We're looking at the dude that the dude that gives you Sumpworks maps in hand. All right, reasonable enough start. And in Constructed, it's like I'll mulligan a little bit more aggressively. Typically just out here playing like 10 1-drops, and so you have the opportunity to hit more frequently. And so I could see an argument for mulliganing away one of these 2s just to try to find another 1, but like we're a little bit light in that area. Right, on this upcoming turn, we'd like to spend 3 mana on our dudes here. It's like we might be a little bit short. Oh, maybe not. Spider package coming at you. It's the no Elise spiders that we're bringing here today. Okay, not bad. I mean, I think our late game is still quite good against this stuff, right? I mean, we've got Captain Farron in hand. We're playing the Harrowings. It sucks to get, AoE'd like that, but it was an even mana trade, 2 cards for 1 card, and so it wasn't horrible.
No going back.
Katarina should be fine. I'm looking to just open attack next turn. Oh, he does the dirty work for us. That's nice. Now we get to Blade's Edge the Mighty Poro, so it dies to a 2-attack unit. All right, is it gonna be Kato time? I think I'm on board. Oh, it's such a good time for it to be. Now this game, it does, you know, it may not be entirely as successful as I was hoping for, but it does play out how I was expecting a lot of these games to potentially go, in the sense that we had that early game aggression, right? We got our nice combat in, and now we're switching over to a kind of overwhelms-based strategy. He's going to have to take some damages here. We get this set up to where, you know, we're going to be curving into Darius next turn, and then potentially doing rally attacks with Katarina and a flipped Darius. So we have a lot of good potential here. We're about to get boomed on this turn, though. We don't have an answer to this Braum, and he's gonna take down our Kato. Oof. It's going to come down to if this Whirling Death can stick. I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great. But that's what we have to have go right here. Maybe he'll just keep playing dudes that don't matter. Okay.
My axe is ready.
My axe is ready, bro. Now, if he just passes into us again, how do we feel? Like, I'm not too worried about the Kato of the Arm here. Because how bad is it if this Braum flips? Like, it just feels like this is going to be a harsh winds or something. I don't know. I just feel like we can continue to build up. We've got the Whirling Death if we need it. This is like if we get really invested in this combat to try and take down the Braum. And then he has the harsh winds to get really good combats across the board. It's just not going to work out. But maybe it does now. Just a big 9 damage, 9 damage Whirling Death coming out of Darius. Okay, I like this. I've been mainly worried about Braum, but ooh, interesting. Protect that Kato a little bit, make him do the work with Braum, and then I think we're getting built up to this, right? To where we can make a big open attack with these overwhelms, and then just follow up with Katarina. There's a pretty good chance he just can't beat the 2 decimates coming out of Captain Farron. Uh-oh, it's going to be a riposte? Uh-oh. Nope. Okay. You all remember when Captain Farron used to make 3 decimates? I wonder if we can revert Captain Farron to his original form now the decimate's been nerfed up to 6 mana. Is it possible, Riot? Is it possible? So now we do have a real question. If we open, like his blocks are pretty good. I think that we just need to be on this decimate plan. I'm going to start adding dudes that allow us to still play a decimate this turn. Right? If he gets too clever, we might want to pivot and switch to Katarina. But there you go. That's what I'm saying. You might have to pivot to Katarina. Can we still win the game like that though? Like, he just has so much health. I guess, though, the Katarina would be able to make a Blade's Edge if we wanted to take down the Braum. Maybe that's good enough. And you know what that means. We missed our allegiance. We've only got 2 Shadow Isles cards in the deck, and they are both they are both the Harrowing. So that's most certainly what we're drawing next turn. Yeah, that's so close. Can we even survive this stuff next turn? I think we have to.
The Legion waits.
So he gets to say, like, block Darius with Tryndamere. I think that's fine.
That the best you got?
However you want to go about it. Either way.
Help is underway.
Giving up on Braum, huh? That's fine. Now we know we're drawing the Harrowing. We just need to not die next turn, right? Do you know what would have been interesting? I have never had this play present itself, but if we had had Katarina die and then summoned her back with the Harrowing, and we'd get the rally on the opposing turn. What a sick way to get a takedown. All right, let's add the Katarina. Just gotta get as much stats as we can. Deal with these overwhelms. I mean, there is a realistic chance we win the game next turn with this, right? If we, on that same idea, if we block something with Katarina and have her die and bring her back with the Harrowing. I mean, we're getting Kato the Arm, and we're getting just so many big plays out of that. Oh man, I like it. I like it.
Timing is everything.
Get those blocks in, only take 5 damage. Lose all of our dudes. And say, alright, fam. No Battle Fury, please. Oh, he's going to Battle Fury me. I love it, but I hate it. Okay, Judgment. Oh, we only fall to 1? Oh, man. Oh, man. Watch this. Watch this. Guy, I hope Katarina's in the top of the mix. This is such a cooler way to win than with these decimates. Oh, that was awesome. That's awesome. So big overwhelm. Kato onto Katarina to give her overwhelm. Send in the squad. Oh man, I need to play more Red Gwen if I'm going to not be as familiar with the Katarina Harrowing. That's not a deck I play a ton of in Constructed, but that's certainly a move in their wheelhouse. But all right, something more along the lines of what I was expecting. We'll ban out the Jinx Draven. I assume that they're going to play the Anivia deck, but I'm happy enough to go against any of these with what we've got. Now, kind of the same deal as before. We have a little bit more play into the Fiora Shen with our Freylord deck. I mean, I guess we could look to bring the 2 copies of Vengeance towards Fiora, but I was going to say, I feel like he's probably going to play Anivia, and I still feel pretty okay with our matchup into this. All right, reasonable curve. Probably don't need Rhymefang Wolf here. I mean, it's unfortunate to pass on it when we have the Archer in when we have the Archer to kind of combo with it, but it's just not a lot of units coming out of the opposing deck in the early game. All right, the Omen Hawk squad. Almost skipped it. This is a classic bust move back in the days of Expedition, to drop the unit on the first turn and be sitting here talking and stuff and then just skipping over the attack. I was always pretty good at that. Pretty good.
They're out there. I'll spot them.
All right, let's just continue to go big. It's one of the kind of interesting things with Omen Hawk is a lot of the time it's better to try and play them both at the same turn. Because getting +2/+2 onto 2 units tends to be a lot better than +1/+1 on 2 and +2/+2 on 1, or however you want to go about it. But I think against this deck that's going to have a bunch of avalanches and vile feasts and withering wails and the like, having the health spread out, it's probably a little bit better. I mean, it reeks of an avalanche or a withering wail. He's going to come in and try and do something to deal 1 damage to all of our dudes. I think this is still fine. You can put the Yetis on top. All right. Well, I'm just going to keep playing dudes. Right. This is kind of an awkward spot as to where it's kind of heavily dependent on whatever his removal spell is. This should be okay-er here. Ooh, that's a big hit. This is a big ol' hit. Not what I expected. I thought he was going to have something at that point. So this is his turn to hit us with a harrowing, and he didn't, or a ruination, and he didn't have it. So that feels kind of good. I like getting this block down onto Anivia, so if she attacks, we can still kill her, like we can still block her with the Enraged Yeti. And now we have a pretty big attack for next turn. Do we want to add the Mighty Poro is the question, just to get one of these smaller units off of the board? And I think it's okay. It's probably all right to be fairly all in at this point. If he blocks our 2 bigs, he's looking to take 11. We have plenty of refill with Tryndamere in hand. I dig it. That looks like a lethal friend. Playing Vengeances here is fantastic. Love to see a Vengeance come down. Grasp of the Undying, a little bit worse, but I think it still leaves us in a good spot. You have to worry a little bit here. Oh shit, no, the Anivia. Here comes the egg. I was going to say that he's going to be able to start making plays onto the Anivia egg, but I think this is okay. Right, they have the ways to kill off the egg and resummon it so you have multiple eggs and stuff. Seems pretty good for us. We got a very commanding board here. He's probably got to spend a little bit more mana. Does not. I wonder if we should have played the Rhinefang Wolf to try and take down the egg. I think this is still fine, but might have missed out on some opportunity there. Here comes the Anivia. Look out. Two of them coming in. Okay. Tryndamere. I kind of had the classics in my head now, so where Tryndamere isn't as safe as I want him to be. He used to have to deal with the 7-mana Vengeance. It's a little bit cheaper now. I was also kind of curious if this turn, if we couldn't Babbling Bjerg into Tryndamere and then hit him with a Battle Fury, but that's a little bit out of the question as well.
A new era begins.
Tall as a mountain and covered in ice.
Icy Yeti, you are expensive. Might have let this one get away from us. We could have definitely played this a little bit more aggressively. So are we just going to assume he has the second Vengeance in his hand? Is that what's going to be coming at us?
A chill in the air.
I mean, that's fine. We beat that. What you thinking, Tofa-V? He's all into the hydration. That shit's absurd to me. If you get a massive hangover and you need some hydration therapy, you get somebody to come put in an IV for you so that you can survive the day. Now here, this is a little interesting. I think we can probably hook the Rekindler and be fine. The thing is, like, if we take away one of the Anivias, then he has worse blocks in front of our big units, right? And so we might miss out on a couple of points of damage here. Yeah, it looks like we're not going to kill the Anivias. If you had to have put the Rekindler in front of Tryndamere, we still would have been a little bit short. Alright, a little worried about this now. Hey, more Tryndameres. He's unfortunately on the flip side now, but you don't have to re-kill him.
Listen, they come.
4, 6, 8, 10. All right. Dead. GG. Yeah, we might have taken that one a little bit too unaggressively, right? We passed 2 or 3 turns in there to where we didn't spend all of our mana, right? As it's the kind of tough spot in this format is if you want to play around the Ruination or not, and probably should have just put a couple of more units on the board along the way. All right, but fairly similar collection of decks here. I'm not worried about anything from Lucian. The Zed deck could be a little bit scary, but my kind of go-to is just banning out the Anivia if the opponent doesn't bring what's his name, Jinx Draven. So here, you want to get on another round with the old Noxus deck. This is the one I was a little bit worried about taking into the Shadow Isles decks. Maybe we pull it back, get our Mist Wraiths out here again. All right, so we'll hang on to the Elise, look for some cheaper stuff. All right, serviceable. His Wraithcaller is here to party. Double Wraithcaller in that last one, double Wraithcaller in this one. Alright, we can handle this. This seems like a pretty good start for us to run into. Just prevent the damage. He's not really doing anything with this Shark Chariot. We're good to get the Elise down next turn. He should probably struggle with the mountain of card advantage we're about to bring on him.
I know what lurks in the shadows.
Elise knows what lurks in the shadows. Now, do we ever want to try and go for a flip with her? We'll have to see what opponent does. If he has like a Vile Feast right here, it kind of counterspells it, but we do have the potential to have 3 spiders down now, and then be able to play a Vile Feast next turn to get a 4th spider. Probably going to have something die here. It's not that big of a deal, but we had some options to get a flip if we needed it. It's realistically just going to be way stronger to drop double Wraithcaller, though.
Sentinels of light don't fear the dark. Purity and peace.
Alright, Senna, you got your 4 damage in. Do you have the follow-up Lucian? Onslaught of Shadows. Okay. Mistwraith still ready to party. Turns out these 2/2s can block a Fearsome. I did the mathematics on that so you didn't have to. Turns out a 2/2 can block a Fearsome. You're welcome.
Stand down.
Alright, so that looks good. We still lined up for a Hecarim on the next turn. I dig it. Sure. This isn't adding anything to the board, and so that's what opponent really needs right now. Look at that. My unit's bigger than your unit. It's like I don't even want to be attacking with the Spectral Riders because they're smaller than everything we have. We'll get one in. I assume he just doesn't attack with Callista, but we can choose to not attack with Spiderling next turn. Haunted Relic for the Callista flip. Okay. What else we got? Onslaught of Shadows. Ephemerals everywhere. We have an option, like we can Vile Feast one of them. Like if he attacks with the Ephemerals and Shark Chariot comes out, we can do it to 1. Like I was kind of thinking if we want to hang on to the Vile Feast, so as he blocks Hecarim next turn, we can use that as a way to piece in an extra point of damage. Like, I don't think it's ever going to come to that. But the next concern I have is dying to an atrocity, and we're probably not going to get much more out of the Vile Feast this game. And so, we can take the drain. I guess we're missing out on a point here. We could have blocked something with the Spiderling, and is that how that works? Would we have lost out on that unit? I don't remember. Right, though. Comes the big squad. Says, how do I get out of this? So many glorious beasts coming at me. Remembrance. I dig it. I dig it. So I think, we should still be okay. If he's going to, say, block Hecarim with the Vanguard Cavalry, block something else with Callista, he's still looking at a pretty big chunk of damage. Got a dumb cat right here at the end. She doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. But all right, GG. No 2 losses in a row. The battles continue. On to the next one. Okay, next battle. Oh man, I forgot to check on my fantasy football lineup. I've been getting the notifications. I could have hit cancel, but not yet. We'll come back to it after this game. But all right, reasonable set of stuff. Again, we're going to ban out the Jinx Draven. See what opponent brings in. I guess people will play Teemo. I don't know, but I would assume that this Callista Lucian deck is pretty much like what we just played in the previous game. A bunch of ephemerals, a bit of the dead allies themes kind of tied into it. I think if we get to play with the opportunity to play Katarina here, they'll probably go for it. Otherwise, I feel pretty confident with everything into Teemo. It's such a bad day to be playing Teemo, right? With with so much Shadow Isles running around, but I think this is okay. Bans out the Katarina. Unfortunate. Let's go with the Tryndamere. All right, we played Mr. Wraith twice. We played Tryndamere twice. I don't quite remember. All right, up against the dead allies. This is tough. I guess you can hang on to Brittle Steel here. It's it's good against Lucian. No longer good against Callista. It used to be a fantastic way to take the Callista down, but reasonable enough curve. The Avarosian outright is, I think, are high powered enough to go ahead and hang on to. Just the absolute mountain of stats that this thing brings is quite joyous. All right, Warden's Prey, sending back some last breaths. Let's see what we get.
They're out there. I'll spot 'em.
Is that a generated one? Nope, just physically playing the Cursed Keeper. Okay, got the Butcher as well. Doesn't look like it. I think I'm okay to just leave the Cursed Keeper up for now. It's not, like, in Constructed, or I guess I should say when all the cards are out on the table and you're playing against, like, the Slayers decks and stuff, I always recommend coming in and taking these things down as quickly as possible. It just takes down so much of their strategy, but here it just doesn't feel like he's going to be that capable to have the big plays. He's not going to be playing... like right of champion tutoring. He's not going to be playing Kindred and having the big cycles of power, and so Glimpse from Beyond is okay. But pretty reasonable stuff going on here. We got the Brittle Steel, should we need to take down a Callista. Some big blockers and stuff. I'm on board with this. Didn't pick up the unit, though. Somebody else hanging out on top of the deck with the Outriders +1+, or the +3/+3. I can't remember if this used to be a 4/4 or what. It's clear it's clearly not too good anymore, but it was deemed too good at one point in time.
My gun does the talking.
I'm bringing everybody, huh?
Look out for Reavers. Who goes there?
I mean, sure, right? Let's just take the board. If he's going to follow up with a Callista or something on an upcoming turn, it's nice to just have all these units cleared out. We still have a pretty good board here. Tryndamere didn't need the extra stats, but I guess that's what we're stuck with. And do we ever want to just shatter the Phantom Prankster? Right, it's got 0 power. Takes away one of his blockers for next turn so that we can, like, play the Ancient Yeti and then immediately attack. Probably not worth it. It's a thought, though. You got an option. Little 0 attack buddy hanging out.
Fresh catch? Well, it
Drop the Outriders. It's like this could still potentially be a decent like avalanche turn where all of our units get to survive, or if he plays like just like width, we can deal with it pretty well. Oh, and he just hits Senna. Interesting. She's probably not worth taking down off the board. All right. We're going to get to big stats eventually, right? Now, do we ever just Avalanche Senna? I'm surprised you didn't block with her. Like, do you ever just not block with Senna if you have Lucian in your hand? We could probably deal, though. The big boy, Rhymefang Wolf with all the stats.
World full of monsters. I'm glad I have you.
That'll never change.
All right, see if any of those flips going to be coming in. Even if, like, disaster strikes here, say he has a riposte for one of these champions, we can go into the next, like... Oh, no, we played the Brittle Steels. Like, I was going to say that we could Brittle Steel them even if they shrunk a little bit, but that was not accurate. That's not the case whatsoever. Okay. We should be pretty close to the lethal next turn with the two big overwhelms along with the Tryndamere with the bonus stats. I think we should be good at this point. We can play weird stuff like Detain or whatnot, but I think hooking one unit out of combat with the Rhymefang Wolf and then this, what is that, 19 power of overwhelms? Probably enough to do it. All right. Tryndamere does it. GG.
Not even a challenge.
Not even a challenge. You tell him, Tryndamere. All right, pre-final battle coming at us. I miss these days of Expedition, getting the pre-final battle in before the final battle. Round 6 coming in for duty. All right, but you know, same deal as before. We'll ban out the Jinx Draven. Here, if he lets us keep up the Elise or the red deck, we'll keep it up. I don't know what Braum is. That like Poros? Is that what that's going to be? The Braum Piltover? We're gonna get to play it. Okay, I was like, I assume that we're probably just like whenever I see somebody come at us with Jinx Draven and with both Jinx Draven and the Elise Darius, I assume that they're just gonna play whatever aggro deck stays up. But I think we're about to get Poroed, fam. And so in terms of that opener, I really wanted to try my best to find a one-cost unit. So we had a bunch of expensive stuff along with a House Spider. Went ahead and mulliganed away the House Spider just to try and find a 1. Now, what we typically say here is, you know, if you don't know what to play the one that does the most damage between the Saboteur and the Precious Pet. You know, with the opponent playing Omen Hawk, we no longer want to get the Saboteur on board. It's not going to do the job in terms of dealing damage to the face place here.
Ready the torches.
Sure.
Light the signal fires.
All right, looks like we'll be building into this Whirling Death. The Poros are coming in now. No surprise there. Let's see what we can do. It's tempting to just go ahead and take the trade. Like, what you're gonna like see with this is, number one, our Grenadier's never gonna deal combat damage, right? He's just, he's gonna get blocked by a Poro. But the opposing deck is gonna grow quite a bit in terms of adding things to the board with Poro snacks. And so I think if we want to, you know, kind of get away from that, we should probably just go ahead and make the trade, knowing our unit's probably not going to do anything. Now here, kind of an interesting spot. If we want to I wonder if he blocks. This should be pretty obvious that shenanigans are about to happen. And I think there's a lot of times to where he just doesn't attack here, which would have been awesome. But to a lesser degree, you know, you're very open to just losing your Braum to a combat trick now. So I guess he could have another one. He played Entreat, but I think it's fine to just go ahead and take him off of the board. The other option would have been to just say play like Kato the Arm, and then try and use Kato as the tool to have a unit bigger than Braum. I think this is fine. About to get snacked. Gonna bring some of them snacks on us. So we've got an interesting decision here. We could add Darius, but I don't think he ever gets to flip, right? If we take the Basilisk Rider up to 8 attack, it gets blocked by Mighty Poro and he plays Poro Snack. I think we just want to go for the width here, and then we'll add Darius next turn. So we can look to Arachnoid Sentry, whatever his biggest unit is. That's a pretty good unit to, to hit with the Sentry. Do we have to... Does he ever just kill us with this thing next turn? We could just kill him here. Okay. 5, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. All right, 22 into 15. Oof. It's a little scary. A little scary. The Heart of Fluff is a big all-in kind of unit. When we played this deck in Expedition, you really kind of needed to be in Targon so that you would have access to those Spell Shield ones. If you're going for the Heart of Fluff deck, there's a variety of Poro's decks that you could be playing. You're either typically playing the full-on Poro Snacks build-around, which I thought was the good deck, or you would go for the Heart of Fluff build-around, which you needed to be in Targon to get the Spell Shield Spider, or the Spell Shield Poro, so that you didn't just like fold to a removal spell. All right, into the final battle. What do we got here? Reasonable enough stuff. Again, same strategy. We're going to ban out Darius. Again, Fiora Shen or the Shadow Isles Offering. We'll take the Tryndamere deck in just in case he's going to bring Fiora Shen. Doesn't. Karma coming at us. I'm curious why they play Karma Anivia instead of just bringing a the Shadow Isles version. What do they get out of this? Are they going to play Dawn and Dusk? Is that why you would play Ionia? You get to play everyone's favorite card and deny as well. But reasonable enough start here. Again, I think these Outriders should be quite good in these matchups, as they're just their removal is going to be AoE stuff like Avalanches or Will of Ionia, and so if he's only having a handful of removals like that, the Avarosian Outrider should present them with some problems. But see, opponent might have dropped their phone in the toilet. They didn't realize all these premiums were going to be coming at them. You guys say, "Uh-oh, look out." I'm a little scared. All right, not too worried about the Entreat. You can't play any of that for a few turns. You typically don't want to do that, right? Well, I guess there's a kind of maybe you do, maybe you don't aspect in terms of if you don't want to draw the champion, you know, then it's okay to just go ahead and do it if you're looking to specifically draw a non-champion spell. But otherwise, you know, you could have just waited until this turn to do it, right? You could have just banked up the 3 mana and hope that was good. This seems fine. Steel Tempest, okay. See if we immediately draw our Yeti or if it gets to get to have the opportunity for the Outrider treatment. Man, I miss Expedition so much. It's like that. The Outriders were one of the big cards in Expedition. It could be pretty frustrating in the terms of if your opponent hit immediately off of the Avarosian Trapper, and then we're just putting a 5/5 on the board on the 4th turn for 1 mana. It was really tough to overcome. But this other thing here was the big power as well. The Avarosian Outriders into the Yeti. So, pretty good chance we're about to draw an 8/8 Overwhelm for 1 mana. Pretty good. Could have gotten shuffled in weird, but there he is. There he is. Winter's Breath. Well, that limits our damage output. Limits it a little bit. Still just gonna keep slamming dudes though. Like, what's he gonna do? He's not gonna play a Ruination. We're free to just load up the board at this point.
Where there is life, there is hope.
Hey, Karma. You ready with your blocking shoes? Ready to bring the big blocks. Good chance we're not going to lethal this turn. Like, just a single interactive card really gets him out of trouble. But big hits coming in. Right, if he has a Steel Tempest onto the Enraged Yeti, Flash Freeze, whatever. Then you can still block with Karma and stuff.
Act with conviction.
Take him to 3. Interesting seeing him block the Yeti with Karma, though. Why would you do that?
Pillage and burn.
I guess if you don't want to have her at risk of dying to a spell or something, it makes a bit of sense. But she's going to be a problem next turn. That's most certain. She's going to flip and we can't do anything about it.
Old stones tell the history of this place.
I smell a fight!
This is what it's all about, though. If we get to hang on to this Tryndamere get to stick around on board, and we get to Battle Fury next turn.
In a single soul.
This would probably make my day if we got to finish off with the Battle Fury. Why are you health potioning now? Interesting. I mean, you're like most certainly gonna get open attacked on. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, he's got the full 13 mana, I guess.
All right, fill the valley.
We'll take what we want.
Do not stand in my way.
Well, he's gonna bring the thunder. He's gonna bring the shenanigans. That's for certain.
Knowledge springs from many sources.
If we don't win the game right here, probably done. So weird he wasn't doubling up on the health potions.
By force of will.
I guess it doesn't matter if you're getting this coming at you, right? You have 21 coming at the face. If you're taking 20, over 20, it doesn't matter what your health is. All right, I think we got it. He's doing weird stuff now. He's gonna...
Peace has its cost.
Looks like he is trying to draw karmas to play more Insight of the Ages. Boomed him. I was gonna say, the thing to worry about here would be like a Steel Tempest coming in and after we play a Battle Fury, but it should be too tough for him to pull off the stuff with all of that mana. Cool. So, prime victory is ours. Not prime, just regular. Regular victory. Give us the marker on the Foundations thing. Glory achieved, and we've done it. And so, you know, I was reasonably happy with this set of decks. You know, that we did get taken down by the Anivia deck, which was a bit unfortunate, but I think the strategy here is fairly on point. I think that Anivia matchup was probably pretty winnable, just in the terms of the Harrowing being so strong these days and so much Ruinations running around. If you're looking to leave up Jinx Draven, or I'm sorry, if you're looking to ban out Jinx Draven, then I think this Harrowing route is probably the way to go. And just ultimately, again, I don't like picking a specific deck as the one that we're going to build our lineup around, because you just don't play it frequently enough. And so, say, like with this matchup in this set, if we were looking to specifically beat Jinx Draven, and so we were bringing this like really drain-heavy Shadow Isles deck to try and beat it, we played eight matches, 8 games, and I think we saw Jinx Draven twice, maybe 3 times. And so just like even a third of the time having that turn up, you need to be like really good against the rest of the field if you're going to focus in that heavily on Jinx Draven. And I think that's what a lineup like this really helps carry around, is that we can plan on there being so much Shadow Isles around that we should be able to kind of pick on it. And so I feel like, again, like the weak link here was the Darius Katarina deck. I think that's the way that you would have to kind of look at this lineup, is say, okay, we're going to ban Jinx Draven, that's fine. We're going to have to play against Shadow Isles. If we're playing against Shadow Isles, this is the deck that's going to be a little bit weaker, right? If you have your early game all tied into Precious Pets and Legion Saboteurs and House Spiders making these 1 health units, it's very easy for opponent to shut down your early game, and then you're kind of counting on your big unit plan, which they're kind of very well set up to deal with. And so you would have to kind of count on Tryndamere and the Hecarim Elise deck as being things that you're going to run into Shadow Isles over and over again. But I think the Darius Katarina might have a bit more game against something like a Yasuo deck, right? If you're trying to playing out a bunch of stuns, then you have options here just to flood the board with width, as to where the other decks tend to go a little bit taller. I know our Elise deck seemed like it was getting a lot of width because it had all of those Wraith Collar draws, but realistically, Darius Katarina is going to be the deck that more easily achieves board width and can take advantage of something like a Yasuo whatever kind of deck. And so, nonetheless, I was pretty happy with all of these. I think our Hecarim Elise deck was good. I definitely like Hecarim more than something like a Callista. Callista does have good stats and fearsome, but she doesn't get that same kind of like punch in the late game that you would get out of a Hecarim. And so I think I'm on board with him as well. I think the setting of cards here is pretty good. I don't like going completely all in and playing that 0 mana spell that lets you copy a unit, right? If you're going to go bigger into flipping Hecarim, then that's fine, but Hecarim's really just here as being a big overwhelm unit to help close out a game. And so I like just kind of stopping with the Mist's Call, and then having the package that we have set up here. Is quite happy with this one. The Tryndamere deck, we played this in the last video, played it again here today, added in the second Harrowing for the third Mighty Poro. Quite happy with this as well. This is a quite strong deck that a lot of decks don't have good game against, given that you have just a lot of big stats. Things like Ezreal Karma don't like playing against this because they can't actually remove any of your units particularly well. Sure, you can play Steel Tempest, you can play Will of Ionia, but for the most part, they don't do well with these big, mid-rangey, meaty units that can also overwhelm in for damage. And so, reasonable here. The only thing, man, it's like I'm curious if we should ever just move up to playing 3 Shatters, right? Just as a card that kills Fiora and does a lot of work. There was a potential that we wanted an additional Shatter here. Potentially, maybe didn't want 3 Rhinefang Wolves, but overall, pretty good things here. I could definitely see cutting out the Avalanche, but that worries me in the amount of interactivity we're bringing to the board if we're not going to play the Avalanche, but I could definitely see that one going. Then last but not least, the Darius Katarina. This deck was fine. I like the big late game overwhelm power of this as well. I think it's definitely the weakest of the 3 decks, but again, Katarina is so strong in this format that it's probably incorrect to not bring a Katarina deck. Like if you're looking to just bring the best decks in the format, you probably want Katarina paired up with Ashe, but having access to this other Allegiance style deck, having access to the Harrowings in this was pretty strong and powerful. I think this is a reasonable deck to have added to a lineup like this. The only thing that feels kind of weird with this one is if we know we're not going to play this against the Shadow Isles decks, do we still want to play the Harrowing? Would we rather come in and play something like Decimate in place of the Harrowing, since we know that we're not necessarily going to be getting into as many big grind fests? And if we're looking to, say, play this against our opponent's Yasuo deck that probably has denies in it, right, then it might be a little bit worse for wear. But it's probably still just powerful enough to always want to play. And so, good stuff. That is going to do it for our Foundations Gauntlets. If you're a daily follower, we will be back with the ladder grind, starting with tomorrow's video. And then once the Rising Tides Gauntlet comes out, we'll get in three or four of those as well. Keep those gauntlets going until they're gone. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. Now, this is Bustin. We thank you for being here.